Hi, students and family members. This is Mr. Panza talking about hyperbole. Hyperbole and how do we use it? Specifically, hyperbole is an exaggerated statement. A perfect example of this would be when somebody says their backpack weighs a ton. Well, in math, we've been talking about measurement, and we have learned that 1 ton is equal to 2,000 pounds. If you thought about this logically, then you can tell why this statement here is hyperbole, an exaggerated statement. If you're saying that your backpack weighs a ton, you're saying that your backpack weighs 2,000 pounds. There's no possible way that your backpack weighs that much. So what you're doing is you are exaggerating how much your backpack weighs. What you're really trying to say here is that your backpack is pretty heavy right now and it's full of books. But that sounds a little less exciting than using a hyperbole statement like my backpack weighs a ton. Let's take a look at some more examples and fill in these answers. As mentioned earlier, an exaggerated statement is known as hyperbole. It's not meant to be taken literally. That's why it's figurative language. Example, Keith has a ton of homework tonight. As we mentioned, are we talking about 2,000 pounds of homework? No, he just has a lot of homework. But a ton makes it sound a little bit more interesting than just saying a lot. Of course, Keith is not putting all of his homework on a scale and weighing it, because if it did, that would be the 2,000 pounds number that we mentioned earlier. The sentence is just an exaggeration to show that he has lots of homework. In the next couple, what I'd like us to do is try and answer these questions before I reveal. So what you're going to do is after I read the sentence, pause the video and take a guess whether this sentence is hyperbole or not hyperbole. Then unpause it and see if you're correct. I have a million things to do today. Pause it. Now that you've unpaused it, you can see that this is definitely an exaggeration and hyperbole sentence. Let's do the rest. Harold ate a large sandwich for lunch. This one is not hyperbole. Large is just a typical type of word that you could use to describe a big sandwich. Mary will be back in just a second. This one is hyperbole because the likelihood of Mary leaving and then coming back in 1 second is very little. Ken will be back in about an hour. This one is not hyperbole because it's logical that maybe he has something to do, run an errand, and come back in 60 minutes. Number 5. When Jamie told us a joke, we nearly died laughing. Hyperbole. My grandmother will turn 67 years old tomorrow. Not hyperbole. This is a factual statement. My mother is always working. Hyperbole. She's not always working. If she was always working, you would never see her. Number 8. Notre Dame has a terrific football team this year. This is not hyperbole. It's an opinion statement that can be backed up with facts. Now, the main question, remember, is not just what is hyperbole, it's how we can use hyperbole. We want to use hyperbole to make our writing more interesting. So if somebody just said, I have an old computer, you could make it hyperbole by saying something more interesting, like, my computer is as old as the dinosaurs. That's now hyperbole, because it couldn't be possibly as old as dinosaurs, but it makes it more interesting and is a more interesting way to say that your computer is old. Let's try these. First, after I read this part, you're going to pause it and think of a sentence that could be hyperbole, and then check the examples here. Number 1, a heavy book. Pause it. Hopefully you said something like this. The dictionary weighed a ton. Number 2, a funny girl. Pause it. Megan has always been a clown. She's not literally a clown, but we're trying to describe her as funny. A talkative boy. Number 3, pause it. Nolan doesn't know how to stop talking. Well, that's not literal. He knows how to stop talking, but it's hyperbole to say that he talks a lot. Number 4, a long wait. Pause it. At the post office, I waited forever in line. You didn't wait forever, you just waited a long time. Let's take a look at a couple more. If I wanted to use hyperbole to create a more interesting sentence or statement for my teacher has a lot of papers to correct, you could say my teacher has a mountain of papers to correct. Even if I stacked all of my papers up that I had to do to correct, it would never equal the size of a mountain, even most of the small mountains. So now let's try it again. I'm going to read the sentence. You think of a hyperbole sentence and then pause it, think of it in your head, and then see if yours comes close to the example. Number 1, Paul is very hungry. Paul is so hungry he could eat a horse. Definitely a hyperbole sentence. 2. Gavin is the tallest boy in our class. Gavin is taller than a giraffe. Definitely figurative language. 3. Our car is very old. Hyperbole would be, our car is so old it was built by a caveman. Number 4. Milena is a forgetful person. Milena would forget her head if it was not attached or screwed to her body. And the last one, this video game is easy to play. The game is so easy a baby could learn to play it. Well, they couldn't literally learn to play it, but figuratively, hyperbole, that's how you use it in your writing. Hope this video helps, and I hope you use hyperbole soon in your writing.